All right. Okay. Thank you for coming back with me. I think I found extra time to actually work on this today. All right. So, what we will do, I think where we stopped the last time was to run the test, right? I just tried to just leave my system on as it is. So for us to see how we were able to do things. So I showed you guys how to wire or expose a sub package in another module using the named interface. And you must also tell the service, the module that, hey, I'm expecting a module, a sub package expose service, anything within there, please access. All right, have access to it. So, and at the same time, we also showed our tests. I actually added this in for the direct dependency, so we'll be able to actually run our test without having any failures. So let's explore this a bit, right? Let's explore the test without a bit. So if you look at this, you can see before we're getting dependencies is none. But right now we have included dependency passport category, right? Passport category. So I wanted to show us this so that we actually have an idea to this. But however, if you look at it, I don't think it's ideal we're exposing this. I just wanted to show this as one way. What I will do, basically, I explained this in the course. We explore that route and things actually work. So please kindly check out that course, right? Kindly check out the Learn Spring Modulith. All right, Learn Spring Modulith. I'll actually drop the link for us to actually see, for us to actually have access to it. All right, so this is how I will proceed. So I would move the person category, the category into the base, into the should I say the root folder, right? Then I will just create an interface here, right? And what I'll just do is, let me just copy this. Just come in here. I'll just copy this signature. I'll just copy this signature. I will just create a person, what should I say, a passport category service. So which would be category. I think I spelled that wrong. It should be passport category, right? To be an interface, right? Then I just use this. So I'll basically just expose this. Then I'll make this the implementation. So I'll make this the implementation. Then with this, what I'll then do, I'll then implement the passport category service. So as a result, this is the only thing we're exposing. What are we exposing? Just this. So we are not exposing anything more. Just this is what we're exposing. So what does this do for us? So if you now check the person, so I don't want to expose the service I want to expose, right? I want to expose the service. So with this done, can I still access it? Oh, let's find out. So with this, let's rerun our person test and see that things are still working as they should. All right. Let's ensure things are working as they should. All right. That is going. Let's see. Do we have any error? No. So there is no error. So if you look at this critically now, the included dependency is the person category, right? That's exactly where it's. So this is the bin. It's finding some of this bin here, but it's not using this. What's the name now? What is it now? So the direct module for dependency is the passport category, right? But we know that we are using a named interface. As you can see, the named interface is this part. So let me move it here because of this. So as you can see, the named interface, right? That is the name. That's exactly what we are using. And what is bin? It's looking for which bin is directly using this guy. The direct module dependency is still saying that for this part here, sorry, for this part I meant to say, it's still recognizing the implementation, but this is what we are using directly. So that makes things a bit more structured, right, for us to use. Okay, so we're passing a name, remember. So before we actually save it, so I need to get the category. Let's ensure that that category exists. So what I will do, I would say the person passport category service, sorry, the passport category service, then get passport, then let's pass in the person DTO dot category. So does this exist? So we'll probably just say if this guy, if the passport category does not exist, equals to null. Remember, we actually should null, but I think we should probably just use optional. Optional was created to prevent us from using a lot of null everywhere. So I'll go back to my interface. I will expose this as an optional, right? It's an optional. Yeah. Then I'll go to the implementation. Then I would release this as an optional. Then this should be an optional. All right. So this is happy. So we come back here. So I can do this. This should be optional. This should be optional. So yeah. So this is optional. So I'll call it passport category, or should I say optional? Let's call it optional, right? Optional, optional passport category. All right. So I'll then check if this is empty. If this dot is empty, right? What should I do? If this is empty, let's do empty. If this is empty, let's throw a null pointer because we need it to be available. It has to be available. So let's throw a runtime exception, right? Else, if it's available, then we get it. So we have this available to us. So have broken anything? I don't think so. We're still working with this same guy, so we've not broken anything. So if this is available, then I can pick this and return it as the category, right? That's the category we're returning as the person DTO. Remember, we're returning person DTO. So I'll just do this dot gets name. Remember, it's the name. That's the name of the category that we're actually returning here. So that's exactly what we're actually passing in here. Okay, so we've been able to do this. All right, so let's check the person controller. So the person controller now, we just get this, just do a new response entity. And since we are creating, right, I'll just make it created, or let's just return okay. So I'll do response entity okay. Response entity okay, then I'll just pass in the body. I'll just do a service dot register person DTO. Okay, this works. This works. So you can use a variant which is a new, or you can use a variant which is a new response entity. You can also do this. Then you pass in the HTTP status, HTTP status, right? Dot okay. So you can do this, right? So both works. So I'll just leave both here for reference. I'll just leave this for reference. I'll copy this just to return new. So return response entity okay. Then service dot create then person DTO okay. All right. So I'll just leave this for reference. All right. So we are able to. So we've been able to actually wire things in so far. Now, does this work? We need to ensure that we're able to pass in a detail and it works. So IntelliJ actually, so you can use Postman if you choose to, but rather than use Postman, I would use HTTP client. So there's a HTTP client. So HTTP client is directly integrated with IntelliJ, so I can just call this directly, right? I can just call this directly. So passing the first name, which is Ezekiel, then the last name, my last name is Ramsey. Then the email, just say test@test.com. Then the age is 1. Let's say the age is just a 20. Then the category. Remember the categories we added in here, which we bootstrapped into the server. This here. So you check in here also. It's here. Passport category. That's exactly what we're matching against. So I'll just call this. I'll just use standard for now. So just do this. Call this standard. So I would run in debug mode so that we can see step by step how this actually wires into the system. All right, so let's change this to running in debug mode. So that's what we'll do. Now come back to our Scratch to actually get things done. All right, so it's coming up. All right. So remember, you could use Postman or any other client to actually hit this. But since this is directly integrated, I'm not leaving the IDE, so it makes things easier for us. All right. Okay, so so I will come in here and place in my breakpoints. I'll place my breakpoint here. Then I'll go in here into this service. Then I'll add a breakpoint here. Let's see the final person that was built. Then let's see the person that was saved. Let's see the registered person that was returned. And let's see if we are able to get this detail, if we actually got this detail or is showing an exception, right? If it matches or it does not match, right? Meaning we're going to the other module to pick details in. All right, so I'm going to clear this up. So let's hit this. All right, I do this. All right, so we hit that. Let's jump in. Okay, all right. So looking at it, my person has been built. The person object has been built. If you look at it, this is accurate. We don't have an ID because it's supposed to be auto-created. Let's step through. All right, so an exception was actually invoked. And why is the exception? Let's release this. Let's check this out. Let's release this. And what's the exception? Let's say query did not return unique value. Oh, it found two results. So it found two results and it was expecting one unique value. So let's check. So it means this was matching two things. Oh, I know what happened. Remember, I did not turn off this guy. So it recreated it again. So what you would do in an ideal situation, apparently it's not even advisable to start loading scripts indirectly. What you do is what you built in development mode, you will just probably have a script directly from the database. Then you have that, then you run that directly on the database by probably database team can run it directly on the server, so you don't have to actually experience these issues. So what I would do is I would stop the application. Just then I would delete. I would delete the category. After deleting category, then I'll run this once. Let's run it once. So let's run it once to ensure that this will be created. All right, I'm sure this will be created now. Let's refresh this. So we have this in. Then I'll come in here so that next time we run, we don't have to face this. I'll place this as never. So it does not initialize anymore. All right. So let's run this generator script again. Okay. All right. So move in here. We've gone past this. Now let's step in again. Okay. Now, is that an error? The error is false. As you can see, this is false. So it's not empty. So come in here. All right. So coming back down here, so we can see we're able to get the standard and duration in years. So does it save successfully? Oh, yes, it did. So now we have the registered person. And let's release this finally. So let's release this. And if we check our console, so what happens is Scratch, this actually saves it in here. So we can see. So let's open it up. So you can see. Oh, is it the, oh, sorry, I think this is the old one. This should be the latest or so. All right. So this is it. So we are getting the response actually back. So getting it back, right? You might be bothered about error handling and the likes. In the course that I actually did, I actually spoke about extensively on error handling. I also spoke about validations. So kindly check out the course, guys, to actually see to actually have the full package within your fingertips. All right. So we're able to do this successfully. So let's check the person object we created, right? Okay, so you can see the person object. The person object was persisted successfully. So we've been able to actually do this, and this works, right? Okay, I think I'm 30 minutes into the video now. All right. Okay, so now that this has been done, the next step is we are receiving data from the person. We received data from the customer, which is the person object. We were able to wire in the passport category, and we compared we compared this where's the person DTO. We compared the category coming in if it exists within this part, within this person category, or the passport category. I kept on saying person within passport category, and that we were able to do here. So if it existed, we actually get. If it doesn't exist, we throw a runtime exception. Meaning, if it doesn't exist, why are you passing something that doesn't exist in the first place? If you're using from the front end, this would have been a bit easier because you just wire things in, as I explained earlier, and you just pick the category probably from a drop down. All right. So we've been able to achieve this. I can remove these breakpoints, right? Except that when we're testing again, I'll probably want to add it in. So, and I've showed you how to wire things in. Now, the question then is, why are we wiring things in? Now, because this is necessary. You need to call this service within. You can't push an event from the service, from the passport service to person. No, it doesn't work like that. Because if you push the events most times in Spring are synchronous. You can make it asynchronous, but when the event has been fired, it doesn't remember it anymore. It doesn't keep track of it, right? That is where we have the passport, the event publication table, which I showed you earlier. So what the ideal thing would be to wire the service. But what about the case of the person to passport? We want to create a passport dynamically, right? So there we could then use an event, which brings us to the next stage, or the next thing we want to consider now. So passing on the event, right? So what I would do is that we'll actually have a person event service. So let's create a person event service. So this will be responsible for sending out the events. Now, these are some of the key rules you need to take note of. So let's probably log some details. I'll make it a service. You can use the components, doesn't matter. Remember, service is also a component, right? Service is also a component. Yeah, I need to show this. All right. Uh, then we'll bring in the final. No, not this. Then application event publisher. Application events publisher. So we want this in. Let's use the as required article. So if you're not using Lombok, you can just use constructor injection or setter injection, whichever works for you. Then we want to remember when you're using an event, you don't have a return. There's no return, so you have to make it a public void. Then let's just call it create passport, because that's what it will be doing. We are sending an event to create passport. So yeah, so we have this. Then the event will not be taking person. What will be passing on across will be the person DTO. The person DTO is exactly what will be passing across. All right. So I think this is good. This is good. So we have this bit. So if you're passing on the person DTO, it means you must be expecting the person DTO in the passport event listener, right? So we have to keep that in mind. Now, when you're passing this, it is always part of a transaction. So you always add in a transactional. A transactional must always be, and the transactional must be from the Spring transaction annotation. All right, Spring transaction annotation. So once you kickstart the service, the application listener the event listener will be listening to would also be taking in that event, right? But it should be taking it asynchronously, right? I need to mention that asynchronously, and we'll explore the listener to look at the annotation that is used and what is contained within that annotation. All right. So here, let's just call it event publisher, right? So just to shorten the name, events publisher. So events publisher. So here I'll be saying events publisher dot publish events, and I'll be publishing the person DTO. So here, let's add a log here saying create passport for this. Okay, create passport. Okay, yeah, this works. This works. So as you can see now, we are moving this. Since we have been able to do this, right? Let's go into so we'll basically go in here. Looking at it, what am I missing? Okay, everything is accurate. So let's go in here, the person service, then wire in the person events. That'll be private final person event service. So we are firing and forgetting. We don't want anything to do with it, so we are not using it in any way. So just fire and forget it. So we come in here. Remember, this is saving, but after it has saved and we are sure it's successful, we can then fire the events. So what is the events now? So events, we are actually passing this person DTO. Remember, we are building this person DTO object here, right? Person DTO object. This time around, we need the ID. So I need to mention that we need the ID. Remember, the ID is what we'll be using to link the passport that is created with the person, right? So we need the ID. So did you provide for ID? No, we didn't cater for ID. So I'll add in the int ID, right? The int ID. Now, a good annotation for Jackson is that we could probably take away this guy here. So what I would do is, can use a JSON include, then JSON include non-null. So if it's null, it doesn't include it. So here I will make it an integer. So this way, when we are returning back to the UI, it is null and it doesn't get to make use of it. So how do we handle it here? So what will happen is I would pick, so rather than return, okay, this is where we are mapping. So this person, we are now taking the ID here. So the ID that we're passing in here would then be the person dot get ID. So this is the ID we're using. So things are happy. Oh, it's a long. Okay, it's expecting a long. So let's make it a long, right? Let's make it a long. Remember, I'm using the wrapper type, not the primitive type, so that once you set it at null, it doesn't appear on the UI. You might want to check this out properly so that once you actually call the controller and it returns the object, we don't see this ID because it's not ideal to actually pass on your ID. All right. So this is fine. So how do we proceed? Remember, we are passing the registered person here. So what I would do, rather than do this, I would return this, right? I would first of all get this as an object. So I get all these details available to me, right? I get all details available to me. After getting, I've saved the person, now I'm sending it. Now I'm going to send the event afterwards. So I'll be sending the event as this map, let's call it person, let's call it person detail. Let's call it events. So let's call it events person detail, right? Event person detail. So this is what I'll be sending over. Then I can then return my event. All right. So you can see I've just restructured the application a bit, the code a bit. So this works, right? All right. Yeah. So before we move on, let's test it out. Let's see if it gets into this event, and let's see this event is actually logging this, right? Let's see if it's logging this. Let me just add in some more details so that it's easy to find. All right. So let's run this in debug mode. Run this in debug mode. All right. Then I don't think I want to place breakpoints anywhere. I'll just place breakpoint just before we send the event, right? Just before we send the event. So let's go back to our sketchpad, which is let's go back to our sketchpad. Where is it? So this is the sketches. Then this guy, yeah, this guy. So let's hit it again. So this time around, let me just make it different. 1 1 test 1. Then this can remain the same. So let's hit it again. All right. So we're here. Oh, we're here. No error. Now let's check the console. It's because you're logging it. So let's push. Okay. So you can see creating passport 4, which is exactly what we have in the event. So it gets here, and that is good. And if we check our response, in this JSON. Oh, sorry, we're still returning the ID. Let's quickly fix that. Let's fix that immediately. So here, before we return the ID, I want to actually set this as null. No, I want to set this event person DTO dot okay. So if we want to set it, we need to create a new map because we're using a record. Okay, so what I would do is I just say a person DTO, and I'll call this out. It takes in the same person DTO. We just want to return this, remember? So person DTO. You could just, I thought probably just create another object, right? Just create another object entirely. But I chose to use the same object so just to show some of these functionalities like a JSON include. So that's the total aim. So we could have used under DTO. That would have been the best case, but I just want to just show this. All right. So I'll pass in a null. Passing in null, then this is exactly what you're passing in, right? This just goes in. Then I'll change this guy to person DTO. Then it doesn't use a get, so just use a ID. So I'm not using ID anymore, so ID is gone. So get first name, that'll be first name, last name, email, age, then person, category. All right. So I'll call this also. Let's call this response person DTO. All right. So now that we have this, let's pick this up and let's use this here. So I'll call this response person DTO. Then I'll just pass in the events person DTO. So let's run this again. Now we're passing the event as null. Remember, we've marked this at don't include the null objects. So if I actually go to the scratch, where are you? Yeah. So that has started off successfully. Let's come in here. Let's use two. This will still work. I just want to create distinction. So let's push this. All right. So move this here. So let's get to these parts. All right. So let's release. Okay, releasing it. We're still creating this. We are creating a station. Is getting the events. Now let's check our sketchpad. Right. So let's do this. All right. So you can see you don't have the ID anymore. I've removed the ID. So there you can. That's the way you can actually manipulate your DTOs. Okay. So now that we've been able to accomplish this, now we've seen that the event is actually going through. Now we need a listener. We need to tell, hey, we are sending an event to you, right? But we needed to actually listen to it. So we need a passport service to listen to it, right? Passport, please listen to it and tell us how to actually navigate this. Okay. So as a result, we'll create, let's call it passport event manager, right? Well, that seems like a pretty good name. Passport event management, so passport event management, or manager service, or passport event service. Let's just name it, make it simple. Passport event service, right? Because both the listener and the whatever, if it's also firing events, everything could be handled in here. All right. So let's make it a service, a component, whichever works, right? It's a component. We're not really injecting it into anything, so I'll just leave it as component, right? Let's log. So I use SLF4J. Then that's required as constructor. I think this works, right? So next stop is when you're listening, you don't also expect a response, right? So we have a void, and I'll call it create. Remember, this name is dynamic. It doesn't have to match the name I used in the event publisher, right? It doesn't have to. I just want to just have something similar, so it's easy to follow. Create passports. Then remember, we are passing in what? The person DTO. Person DTO is what we're using. Person DTO. Person DTO. All right. Person DTO, the person DTO. Then I remove this. Then pick this guy. All right. Now, we are expecting this. We now want an application module listener. Application module listener. We don't use the normal transactional event listener. Now, let's check this. You see, this is using a transactional. So it picks up the transactional that we've actually used, that transaction. And remember, the transactional is propagating a new one. So meaning, even though you sent an event, the event that you sent is within a transaction, it will take that event, it will take that DTO from that event, then create a new event and run it in there. So as a result, it disconnects from the first event. So it is asynchronous in nature. So it is asynchronous. And that is why you have this here at async. You see it async, it creates a new transaction. It's also a transactional event listener. And you see, this actually works. So it disconnects from the first event. So that way things are run, even though an error is actually encountered. Number one, the events publisher would publish within the database, then the event listener can listen on it. All right. So I think I've been able to explain this. All right. So we are actually doing this. So let's do a log.info, and we'll say, let's say person details for passport creation received. So let's see if we get this before we even proceed. Let's see this first. All right. Okay, this is expecting. All right. All right. So let's rerun this. Let's rerun this. All right. Let's rerun this. But I think someone might be curious. Have we not broken our test? Remember, we spanned over another module now. Have we not broken our test? Let's find out. So I'm going to run all the tests and let's see. Have I broken anything? Let's see. It would confirm. Oh, what have I broken? All right. Okay. 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 All right. So you're still good, right? You're still good. So this is actually passing in, and we're able to actually get this. So things are working as it should. So let's run this guy. Let's run this guy, and let's publish the events, and let's be sure that this is actually received, right? Remember, we've published about 2 events before now. Let's check. Did the event register? Ah, no, the event did not register. Why? Why the event not register? We'll find out. All right. Let's push this and let's see if this actually gets in. All right. So we have set an event publisher, and remember, what it listens to is the application module listener. Application module listener. Let's quickly test that, and I'll actually create more. Actually, give you more explanation on that. So let's change this to 3. Change this to 3. Let's change this to 3. So let's fire this guy. This will basically not generate any error, right? So no error. So, aha, can you see? Person details of passport creation received, which is exactly what we have here. And let's check the event publication. We have the data. Awesome. Awesome. Now, the question could be, but you fire the event. How come you didn't register the event publication table? Well, what happens is the application listener is always listening for events that are fired. It checks the type that you fired, right? It is very particular about this type. How do I know? Look within the event publication. Look at the event type. Can you see the event type? It takes the canonical name of that record. And if you check the event listener ID, the event listener ID takes it. It takes the method. That's the method of this guy. This method creates passport and also checks the type. Also, you're passing in. Look at it. So the listener ID checks the method of the passport event server, which is the listener, right? The listener and the name of the method of the listener and the type you're passing to the listener. This is good, guys. This is really, really good. All right. It's really, really good. So we've been able to actually accomplish everything we want to do in this video. I just wanted you guys to see exactly how this works. This is just plain awesome, right? This is just plain awesome. Kindly check the link below. You would basically see the Git repository. You also see the link to my course because there's several things we've left unexplored. And I can assure you, you won't regret actually taking up that course. So please kindly check out my course on Learn Spring Modulith, moving Monolith to microservice seamlessly. That's the full name of the course. Learn Spring Modulith, then Monolith to microservices seamlessly. You could actually check it out and to understand how to use this in your projects. And you can be sure that you have things actually wired up. I think there's one last bit you're missing, right? There's one last bit you're missing. We have not created a passport. I'm sure if someone is waiting for that. Hey, guy, you've not created a passport. All right, let's just go in now and do just that. So what I'll do, passport, then passport dot set passport number. Now, passport dot set passport number. So let's just pick this to the right, to the right. Where are you? So let's split to right. All right. So we want the person ID. Okay. First of all, we want the person ID. Passport dot set person ID. Then passport dot set passport number. Then passport dot set issue date. Issue date. What I'll literally do, I'll create a date here. So local date equals to local date dot now. So I'll just pass in. That's what we're using. Local date. Then passports. Then issue date. So this issue date would then be the local date plus years. So we are adding years plus years. Remember I mentioned this earlier? Plus years. Plus years. You know, part the person DTO dot duration. Right? Did you pass in the duration? Duration. You see that's the flaw. So we're supposed to also pass in take off the duration because the duration is basically needed. We need the duration to be able to pass on the year. So let's fix that. So add in duration, right? Duration. So I will pass this in as a long because apparently we don't need the user to be aware once it's created the duration. Apparently we have gotten the information and the likes and or probably we could actually pass it. I don't think there's any harm done. There's any harm done in doing this. So let's fix this. So we'll have the person dot duration. So then passport number. I introduced the library here, which is a faker library. You can create fake passports numbers. So just create so I'll wire this guy in here. The private final passport repository. I need this to create the window. I need a private final, then faker faker. So that's basically what I did. Spring style, just added this in. Then faker, then I add this in. Faker dot passport dot valid, right? So it gets me valid passports. Then the person, I get the ID. All right. So this is done. Then we come in here. We come here. Let's take this off. Let's take this off. We'll come in here. Oh, this should be expiry date. I didn't see this. Should be expiry. Set expiry date, right? Then passports dot repository. Then save passports. So should be able to see this. So let's quickly fix this. Let me see. Does this already? So this doesn't contain. So I'm going to drop this table, this passport table. I'll drop this passport table so everything is recreated for us over again. Then what else? Why is this guy complaining? Have I done something wrong? Oh, okay. Yeah, it can't find the repository. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, so you come from, oh, sorry, right. Coming from, I don't know you. Okay. All right. So remember we are firing everything from the event service. So from the event service, apparently this will start complaining, both will start complaining because they're expecting the duration. So this person, so I'll just take in an extra parameter here, which is the long duration. Then I pass in the duration here. Then here also, the person detail is supposed to contain this directly, so I'll just pass in the duration, right? So person duration. Okay, I think that solves this. Then for this guy, we'll pass in this, I'll pass in the duration. Person DTO. No, not this person DTO. We want the duration from this passport category. Yeah, passport category. So passport category DTO dot duration in years. Yeah, that solves the case. So we have this. Then when we pass this in here, the person event DTO, when we pass it in here, so the create passport, yeah, create passport, yeah, we'll send it that. When we pass it in here, this actually returns to us, which is this guy, the person DTO. Then create the passport. We already have the person actually having the duration, right? This duration. All right, so let's test this again. Let's test it again. So running debug mode, which is the final piece I think we're missing. Then when we're done, we'll run the test and be sure that everything worked out great. All right, so let's go to a sketchpad. Let's take this out. Let's be sure our password is created. Let me refresh this. All right, so you can see password is created. Password is created, which is good, right? So we go to the sketchpad. So this time around, passing 4, 4, 4. All right, so let's hit this. Hopefully, and we go. All right, so let's check the console. Passport for this, then the person details received. You can see it has the duration 5 years, and everything is there. So let's check the table to validate everything we've done, right? Let's check the table. All right, so you can see the event actually came in successfully. I've explained this bit before. Oh, okay. So this part I didn't explain the serialized event. So the serialized event is once the event fails, it keeps a JSON object of the event you sent so that you can actually reuse it later, right? Reuse it later. There's where we dynamically check through these things in the course, and I showed you guys how you could even dynamically check the event ID, then wire things up, fire things, and it's dynamic. Like we did it in a dynamic way. And I also show you where we can publish events through the incomplete event publisher and the complete event publisher. Can you check out my course on Learn Spring Modulith, Monolith to Microservices Seamlessly? All right. So I think, guys, this is basically where we've gotten to, and I've been able to actually go through. Just in the final bit, let's run our test. Let's be sure nothing broke. In the course, I also take on several test cases. That's the integration test to see exactly how things work, so that we'll just see how things actually navigate. We also talk about Docker. We Dockerize the application, ready for production. We added in some components that would assist us to run things properly, right? All these and many more in the course. Please check out my course, Learn Spring Modulith, Monolith to Microservices Seamlessly. I hope to actually hear from you guys to know exactly if you actually enjoyed this video, also enjoyed my course, and tell me how I can actually improve. Then and definitely I would actually get on it. See you guys next time. Bye.